My name is Michael Fakhri, and I am the UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food. This means that the UN has authorized me to be the leading independent expert on the right to food and nutrition. Members of the Committee on World Food Security, the CFS, are going into the next round of negotiations for the voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition. I have read the most recent draft of the voluntary guidelines, and I've recorded this message to share my thoughts. My thoughts today are similar to what I've discussed at the CFS itself. My worry is that as of now, the draft treats human rights narrowly. The draft does not reflect how human rights actually operate. Also, the draft is inconsistent in how it uses human rights. If human rights are referenced in this way, they will be watered down. Watered down human rights would make the voluntary guidelines less effective. It also means that the guidelines would be less likely taken up by governments, international organizations, and civil society. Let's think about relevant international organizations that would help put these guidelines into operation. Human rights are central to the workings of UN Nutrition and UNICEF. The right to health is in the WHO's constitution, and the right to food is in the FAO's constitution. Human rights also give the CFS and its policy instruments legitimacy. Human rights are part of the CFS's success in the past decade. If you do not take human rights seriously, you are in effect not taking the CFS seriously. Now, there's a perception that because of the Food Systems Summit, which will be held this fall, that the guidelines negotiations must finalize as soon as possible. But it's better to have voluntary guidelines that are coherent and operational than to have something that has been completed too quickly under difficult conditions. The Food Systems Summit leadership is working hard and fast, but they are still developing the specific goals and outcomes of the summit. So, the summit's final achievement is still in question. Also, COVID-19 is not on the summit's agenda. Whereas, if the world has voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition that are firmly grounded in human rights, governments and people would have a new tool to fight the hunger crisis created by the pandemic. As we all know, people's strength and health depend on their food and environment. To understand nutrition as part of a food system, we must understand the importance of the whole system of rights that includes people's right to food, health, water, and the environment. If the voluntary guidelines clearly and consistently rely on human rights, this can empower people to have more control over their own health, their own environment, and their own communities. Thank you.